And at one point of time, one would think that is this really an architecture school or some kind of a mechanical or civil engineering or maybe some sort of a school, but that is what it is. Architecture has changed over a period of time, and we have not changed. Our architecture is same for a long time. We wanted to relook the whole thing, and this school was trying to get into that level of trying to experiment new things.
Hello to everyone here. We are here today for Thali Talks, interviewing Dr. Jaffer Khan. He is one of the iconic architects you can find in the south of India, specifically in Chennai. He hails from Vellore, his native town, but he is predominantly practiced in Chennai and in Bangalore. He is also a practicing architect abroad, as he is registered himself as an architect in New Zealand. So today we will be watching him speak about architectural education, what he has experienced as an academician, his ideas and his future vision. And I am Sanjana, an architect and urban designer and currently an assistant professor at SRM University.
To start with, I did my architecture in the School of Architecture and Planning, which was then affiliated to the University of Madras. And I graduated in the year 1984. And as soon as I passed the exams in 83, I joined as a teaching research fellow. I worked in Anna University for 1 year, and then I took a scholarship to go to England from the Aga Khan Foundation, and there I did my master's in architecture, which is specialization in environmental design and engineering. This was a very tough program, which had a deep involvement in various aspects of environmental design. And the most important thing is that my dissertation, which was recognized as one of the best dissertations by University College London and University of London. So that dissertation was on comfort in housing. So I had to take Arumbakam housing scheme and test it for human comfort. It was a wonderful project. So after completing my master's at the Bartlett, so I returned to India in 1985. I started off my practice from my hometown. So that is Vellore, and I practiced for the first 5 years, and then I moved on to Bangalore, where I established a bigger practice. So from then onwards, it was Bangalore was a big city, big opportunity, and so I started off in a small way, but started getting huge projects. So by the end of the 25th year of my practice, I was almost doing about 10 million square feet projects, and that was the year in 2010. By the time I was based in Bangalore, had a fairly medium-sized practice. In 2010, I was handpicked to start a school in Chennai, not exactly in Chennai, but on the way to Pondicherry. So it was promoted by a developer. So I founded that school, started everything from scratch, worked very hard, and developed the school in such a way, articulated the pedagogy of Anna University affiliated colleges in such a way that nobody could have imagined, to an extent that even people from Zaha Hadid Code had specially mentioned about my way of working through experiential and experimental learning. So it was a very different kind of a studio setup based on the unit system of the AA in London. Very successful. It gave a lot of liberty and freedom to students as well as the teachers to choose the project whatever they wanted to do. So it was, I always had this passion to start a good school, and that's how I put my full efforts to work on this project, on this school. More than anything else, that all these years through my practice, I had developed a fantastic network globally through various professional organizations and bodies, and my links to them as a member. Especially, it's the I think you might have heard about RIBA. Say, I was a chartered member of the Royal Institute of British Architects. I still continue to be the member. So, member of several professional bodies all over the world: Australian Institute, New Zealand Institute, Singapore, and many European institutes. Apart from the fact that I was a member of the Indian Institute of Architects as well as a registered architect in the Council of Architecture. So all this kind of associations created a wide network and link to the kind of resources that no one could have imagined. So people used to say that this is a God-forsaken place, the school where it was existing. But it became so vibrant, nobody even bothered about the distance that people would travel from Chennai to come to the school. So it became so famous. In 3 years' time, it started threatening some of the established institutions, both state-funded as well as private. It has its own problem. So, but we went on, we collaborated with big schools around the world. The best thing that happened is in 2015, one of the largest NASA, National Association of Students of Architecture, happened, and we had nearly about 6,000 students participating in that, with students participating from all SAARC countries, and we had a battery of speakers, iconic speakers from all over the world. The best thing is that for the first time we had Sir Peter Cook, who was the founder of Archigram movement. He came on my personal invitation and he was there, addressed nearly 3,000 students, and he was so excited, and the whole community, architecture community, was excited about this whole program. So that was the kind of an energy that happened 10, 12 years back. What happened was that I had to migrate to New Zealand after that in 2015 because I had to relocate myself. My family was there already. And also an ongoing PhD which I was doing at the RMIT, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. It's a practice-based PhD program started by a very eminent professor, Leon van Schaik, and he was my initial supervisor. Then Professor Martin Hook, who is a very well-known personality in architecture practice and education in Australia, and he saw my thesis through, and the entire thesis was about my own practice. I called it at the essence of space. So I worked on what we call as Sri Yantra as the basis of spatial exploration, which I experimented for the past 30 years. And it had, consciously or unconsciously, it was deep into my projects. And this PhD made me to look into it, see through it, that was the kind of stuff that I was doing. And I was surprised that I was subconsciously doing this without even knowing that I was doing that. And then this PhD made me realize the beauty of it. So we completed this PhD in 2017, Then took up a job in Saudi Arabia in a very prominent university there. I was a director of MArch program for a short period of time. Then the pandemic started, so I came back to India. On my way to New Zealand, got stuck here. So finally landed with one of the most prominent South Indian private universities, having worked there for 1.5 years. Then I thought that architecture school needs, the most important thing is about networking. The school where it was located in a smaller town, which happens to be in my hometown, Vellore, we had a problem of networking because it's a small town, not many architects around. So I preferred to move on to a city like Chennai. So I was again handpicked by the chairman of SRM, Institute of Science and Technology, Dr. Vijay Kumar. And he was very particular that I take up this school and develop it the way that I have done 10 years back in Midas. So it's become a challenge now. So I'm here now at SEED, School of Environment, Architecture and Design, SRM in Ramapuram campus. So I presently head the school as a dean, and I have a wonderful team of teachers. And since I joined, I've been trying to do as much as possible to bring in certain amount of structure to the course, even though the curriculum is quite exhaustive and it's quite huge. I'm trying to softening them a little bit, trying to bring more meaningful approaches to the studios. Can't help much about theory subjects, but that's what it is. But of course, the studio subject is something, studios are something that they should believe, they should love to work on. So I'm trying to do my best. So now I'm in Chennai with this school called SEED, which was blessed by none other than our great iconic, living iconic, legendary figure, Balakrishna Vithaldas Doshi, BV Doshi, who's now getting a gold medal tomorrow. That is on the 15th of June. And he had blessed this school in 2015 and rechristened it as SEED. So I'm lucky to have here, and lucky to have my wonderful faculty, and also lucky to have a very vibrant student community who are doing a Bachelor of Architecture course as well as Bachelor of Interior Design through BDES, and we do have something called as a Master of Architecture, General Architecture program. So that's where it is. As a practitioner, I believe that architecture education should be through practice-based education, and I believe building a building, doing a good building is much more important than sometimes producing a paper or publishing a paper, whatever it is. But a building it takes a lot of effort to conceive the idea, convince the idea, construct the idea, complete the idea, and to commission the whole thing. So it's not an easy job for an architect to conceive and complete a project. It's a lot of psychological work, a lot of hard work. He has to deal with so many agencies. And through the practice of 30 years plus, many of my projects have been nominated for international awards, especially the Jaffer Khan Award for Architecture in 1995 for a project we did in Erode in Tamil Nadu. And so far, as a practice, we have done nearly about 400 projects or so, different typologies, primarily residential and institutional. So that is where it is. So here I am with 30 plus years of experience, sitting in front of you and trying to do my best possible, whatever I can. So talking about Midas, which was formed in the year 2010, the college started admitting in 2011. So I was involved right from the day one in terms of recruiting the faculty and to articulate the curriculum which was based on the affiliated colleges of Anna University. So first thing I identified was the curriculum was completely 15 years behind. I needed to go out of it, out of the comfort circle, and then try to explore something different. So the idea is that it has always been my desire to start or to create a different kind of a college, which can be really a worth place for students to explore and the teachers to be teachers to be able to teach with passion. So I'm a good motivator, and I used to give on and off lectures to my teachers and to sort of give a short training programs in the sense like talking to them, and that made a lot of difference. And more than anything else, students were my life, and these kids are so brilliant, and we have to really be concerned about them and their expectations. And that was one of the main objectives, to make the school very different from what was happening then. So the template was set, things were done in such a way, how practicing architects were brought into our completely academic environment. So that sort of enriched our studios as well as our experimental projects. That was a completely a different pedagogy that was adopted. Not that we are the first ones to do. There are other colleges abroad who have done that. But what has happened is, over a period of time, this kind of a template became a norm, and many schools started adopting that template. I'm very happy that they are doing it. They have done it for several years. So much so that they used to visit the school and see what is happening, because many, as I said earlier, many top schools were feeling threatened about the development of this school, very established schools. So what I could say is that this school sort of shook the foundations of architectural education, demanding more and trying to explore more and new things and going beyond the boundaries. That is the one which we really wanted to do. Like, for example, we had a most successful Architectural Association visiting school program, where we had 40 students from all over the world participating in that school. And it was like industry, manufacturing going on there. So the studio was prototyping things, and then discussions were going on, deliberations were going on, debates were happening, 3D images, 3D images are being developed. And at the same time, from different scaling of those prototypes were happening. So at the end of the program, developing the real scale models, which involved high technology, high tech engineering inputs in developing those kind of real time models. So this entire team descended from London, AA, which is one of the best schools in the world, and they were there with us, and we did a wonderful project together. In a similar way, that the idea is that exposing students to new people, new speakers, new kind of professionals. So we, because of my network, I could get people from different parts of India to come here and see what is happening. In fact, one of my friends and a very eminent architect, his name is Shashi Bhushan, I think you might be knowing him, is a very famous architect from Karnataka. So he came with his son, who's also from AA, and he looked at all the exhibition we had. within the school, whatever the student work, and he immediately said, Jaffer, you're doing an AA here. I never realized that I'm actually doing an AA or whatever it is, but that was the kind of an energy that was happening. And I connected with the outer world through my own way of, showcasing the products the students were doing. So the world was quite eager to know. When the AA team came from London, they visited 2 schools in India, one in North India, which is a very famous school, which is SEPT Ahmedabad, and the next they visited is South, which was my school. So imagine the kind of importance or the name that it has reached outside India at a global level. But the mission was not complete, and I think I was just taking one step towards that trajectory. Lot more things to be done, lot more infrastructure had to be developed, and we needed more people who could understand the kind of vision we have to develop this school. So there was always a search for new ideas, new people. So we used to get people from the UK, especially Shajay Bhushan, who is a very eminent personality right now in Zaha Hadid. So he had visited us, our school a couple of times. So he was quite impressed with the way that we are working on. And not just him, but many professors from Virginia Tech, USA, Harvard, and Singapore, NTU, and many other schools from Sri Lanka. All these people had come to see what was happening here, and that was really a great opportunity to meet them as well and expose them to our students. We also did one more thing, is that much before the pandemic, long time before pandemic, we started getting organizing online experts. So like, and I remember once we contacted the president of the RIBA, Professor Sunand Prasad. So he was from Pinore and Prasad practice. So they were experts in healthcare projects. So he was invited online to give a talk to our students. So right in 2012, we were already doing online lectures through Skype and all these things. Like it was like I was in Canada and the speaker was in London and the students were in Chennai. So it was already been networked like that. So that's a kind of a thing which we did. But this pandemic also has made us to do many new things, which is going to be really helpful. So the school was like I always used to say that this school will never sleep. I was working 24/7 to bring up this school. Almost forgot my practice to some extent. Really wanted to make this school do something different, and the school became so famous that it had 100% intake the last 3 years of my being a director of the school. So that was a great opportunity for me to start up with the new school, and thinking that it will take that trajectory to go beyond whatever we've done. I'm not sure what is happening now, but that is something that we need today. When I look at many of the schools today, I think what they need is an inspirational leader who will take the schools much beyond their present existence. They need to work hard. They need to really bring in some new ideas. More than anything else, how do you make people interested into architecture? That's the biggest task, and that is the biggest task not only for me. I need to inspire my teachers, I need to inspire my students, and these teachers need to inspire their students, and that is the biggest task. So that inspiration is the key word for the success of that school. So that is how I am trying to take on this challenge since I joined SEED, that I need to do that kind of approach reinvented in a different format, see that where we go. But a lot of hard work. It's not so easy. It's like sleepless nights. You really need to work hard to get there.